When should we start? Can start or should we wait?
We start.
Start? Okay. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Welcome you all to yet another enlightening Saturday program. So today we have a special speaker with us to speak on the topic books are the places. So we have our beloved Tarini Radha Mataji here. Before that, we just want, so there are a few girls who have joined in our IYS groups and few other girls who are new to this. So just giving a small introduction of what is IYS. So IYS is a forum in which it is for women, where we care, share, and cherish ancient Vedic wisdom as a part of discussing and solving modern contemporary issues which are faced by women, with the help of our scriptural heritage and spiritual knowledge imparted to us by our beloved Jagat Guru A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we do have weekly Bhagavad-Gita classes which are in Telugu, Tamil, and English. We also have chanting programs morning and in the evening. We also have a lot of reading programs which are going on a daily basis, like on different books of Prabhupada. So I request all of you to take full advantage of all these programs, and the schedule and links for all the programs, the Zoom links, everything will be shared in our WhatsApp group. If you're not a part of the WhatsApp group, please do check the chat box. The links will be shared. And we are you can also connect with us through Facebook and YouTube. And the links for it will also be shared now. You can just check your chat window. And and I request, and there is a small announcement. Tomorrow, girls who are in Chennai, we request all of you to come to ISKCON Chennai temple, because we are arranging a book distribution. So you can be a part of it and like a small get together. This is a part of one announcement that we wanted to make. So please, we request all of you to join us tomorrow. And coming to today's program session, so we really have a amazing speaker today, which is Tarini Mataji. So actually, Mataji, after so many classes that she has taken in IYS, she needs no introduction to all of us. But since few of you are new, I would like to introduce her to you. So Mataji is an author, and Mataji is a children educationist. Mataji, under her, we have the special Bhakti Prahlad program which is going on in various regions of Chennai, but now due to this corona, it is happening in online. So Mataji is basically, she is very much interested in this child-based programs, and she's an amazing speaker, and she has motivated a lot of us, not only kids but also devotees, neophytes, and everybody. And speaking of her, she has also working on a special program called Glory of India, which is a value-based education program that Mataji is being designing for. It is based on this education program for kids, especially for schools. And Mataji is also very busy in the school preaching programs. And under her, there is a beautiful devotee team which is working with her under her guidance. And also, speaking of Mataji, Mataji is a wife of His Grace Sumitra Krishna Prabhu, who is the president of ISKCON Chennai. And both Prabhuji and Mataji are amazing devotees and Vaishnavas who guide, and they're very approachable. Speaking of Mataji, to my personal experience, she is such an amazing, warm, and very, very approachable person. To anybody who's new to a temple, you can just go and approach her. She guides them, she enlightens them. So she's a very sweet. And today we are very, very fortunate, because every time we approach Mataji, call her and ask her for classes, she is so merciful amidst her busy schedule. She always shows, never says no. She always, accepts to enlighten us with whatever, classes that we are asking her. Thank you so much, Mataji. And over to you, Hare Krishna. And one more thing, Mataji is an apt person today to talk on this topic, because she's an amazing book distributor in ISKCON. So we are very, very fortunate to get enlightened about this topic from her. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. That was a really warm welcome. Thank you, Prema Pavitra. It's nice to be with all of you again. Let us just sing a small song before we start. I'll just share it on the screen so you can sing along with me. It's one of my favorite songs. This is actually an early morning song, but it's okay. We can just shift our consciousness to early morning. Udilo aruna puraba. Udilo aruna puraba bhage. Dvijamani goramani jage. Bhakata samoha lohiya sate. Gela nagar braje. Tathai tathai bajalo khol. Ghana ghana tahe jhajer rol. Preme dhala dhala sonaranga. Charane nupur baje. Mukunda Madhava Yadava Hari. Bole na bolo re vadana bhori. Miche nida boshe gelo re rati. Divas sharir saje. Emona dulabha manava deho. पाइया की कोरो भावाना के हो ए बिना भजिले यशोदा सोता चारा में पोरी बेला जे उदित तपन होइले अस्ता दिन गेलो बोली होइबे व्यस्ता तबे के नोए बेयालस होय ना भज हृदय राजे जीवन नित्य जान सार ताहे नाना विध विपद भार नामाश्रया कोरी जतने तुमी ताका अपन काजे जीवेर कल्याण साधन काम जगते आशिये मधुर नाम अविद्यातिमिरतापन रूपे हृद्गगने विराजे कृष्ण नाम सुधा कोरिया पान जोराओ भक्ति विनोद प्राण नाम बिना किछु नाही को आरो चौड़ा भुवन माझे. Let's look at the translation. When the rising sun appeared in the east, the jewel of the twice-born Lord Gaurasundara awakened, and taking his devotees with him, he went all over the countryside, towns, and villages. The mridanga's khol resounded tathai tathai, and the jhanja, large kartals, in that kirtana played in time. Lord Gaurasundara's golden form slightly trembled in ecstatic love of Godhead, and his foot bells jingled. All the devotees chanted the names Mukunda, Madhava, Yadava, and Hari, their mouths being filled with the vibrations. They would announce to the still sleeping people, you spend your nights uselessly sleeping and your days decorating your bodies. You have achieved such a rare human body, but you do not care for this gift. You remain not serving the darling of Yashoda and slowly fall through your last moments to death. With every rising and setting of the sun, a day passes and is lost. Then why do you remain idle and not serve the Lord of the heart? This temporary life is full of various miseries. Take shelter of the holy name as your only business. To penetrate the darkness of ignorance and bless everyone's heart, the holy name has risen like the shining sun. Drink the pure nectar of the holy name of Krishna. There is nothing but the name to be had in the 14 worlds. It has filled the soul of Sri Bhakti Vinoda Thakura. So this song explains how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gathered his followers and they went street to street, door to door, telling people to chant the names of Krishna and to take good use of the human form of life. You have achieved such a rare human body, but you do not care for this gift. So let us see what is special about the human body, what is the gift we have got, and what we should do to make good use of it. So just a few days ago, my friend called me. It was a morning call, and he said, "What is the news?" So I said, "Aren't you watching the news?" Because we know what's going on in the news every time the newspaper comes or we hear the news. What does it do? It simply fills us with fear. So I just asked him this question, "Aren't you hearing the news?" So then he said, "Yes, everywhere there is fear. And I think this fear, we can never be free of this fear." So I did not tell him very much about this, but I think I can share with you what we can do with this fear. So fear is something that is filling our lives from the time we are born till the time we die. Fear is something that's always there with us. So what my friend told is very, very correct. Fear is there in every part of our life. Everything makes us fearful, whether we are inside the house or outside the house, we are full of fear. Every step there is danger, and every step we are filled with fear. So how do we become free of this fear? So the first thing required is to acknowledge that I want to be free of fear, to acknowledge that there are things that make me fearful, and to desire to be free of fear. So there are people who want to be afraid all the time, right? Even if you tell them there is nothing to be afraid of, they want to be afraid. Just like now it's the pandemic, and we were all so scared. We were scared just hearing the news. We were scared about our friends, our families, hearing so many things everywhere. We were filled with so much fear. And even to take the vaccination, which is going to protect us from the fear of corona, even that was giving us so much fear, right? So many things were happening, and it was filling us with so much fear. So there are, when the news tells us that it's okay now, this is what you should do, you wear your mask, maintain distance, keep clean, then it's okay to some extent. Still, there are people who are so very scared. They don't want to step out. They don't want to do anything. They don't want to remove their mask. And then we had the next set of problems that happens when people don't remove their mask. So in this way, it was just going on like this. So then there are people who want to be in fear, but if we realize that I don't want to be in fear, I want to be in a state where I can be free of fear and I can be happy, then we will find the solution. That is why in Bhagavad-Gita 13th chapter, Arjuna asks Krishna, what is knowledge? And Krishna gives a big list. And there he says one very important thing, Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi Dukha Doshanu Darshanam. First you see the dosha, the fault. To darshana, we know darshana means to see, dosha means fault. So first you see there is a fault. Where is the fault? Janma, there is fault in birth. Janma, jara, in old age. And then there is misery, sadness. And then there is vyadhi. Janma, what is it? Janma mrityu. Janma mrityu jara vyadhi. Birth, death, old age, and disease. Dukkha, doshanu darshanam. You see that this is a miserable condition, that there is a fault in this. So when we recognize that fault, then we will look for a way out of it. And this is where the human beings are different from other beings. So the animals are there, the birds are there. They are also in an equally fearful situation. Sometimes we hear the dogs bark so loudly and we think it is being very brave. But then the experts in dogs, they tell you that the dog which is most scared barks the most. So they say the female dogs, they bark the most. Why? They are most afraid. So we see that every animal, they are so afraid. You just walk a little close to them, you can see them jerking. So they are in such a fearful condition, but unfortunately, they don't have a way to find a solution. So they just remain in their condition and they don't know how to come out of it. But what is the rare gift we have got in this human form of life? We have the intelligence. We can work out a solution. So we, having got this human body, when we experience misery and fear, then we should get this feeling that I want to be free of this. And once we start seeking that I want to be free, then the Lord will show us the way. Many of you may have gone to the temples here, Parthasarthi temple and other temples also. So the Lord holds his hand like this, and it is called the Abhaya Mudra. When you see deities holding their hand up like this, it is called the Abhaya Mudra. That means he's telling us, don't be afraid, I'm there for you. So it is also written in the hand, Ma Shuchaha. So this is called the Abhaya Mudra. And when we turn towards the Lord, that is when our fearlessness, our experience of fearlessness begins. So this month we are celebrating the advent of Bhagavad-Gita, celebrating so many birthdays throughout the year. Now, this is a very, very important birth. It is the advent of Bhagavad-Gita on Tuesday, December 14 this year. We are celebrating the advent of Bhagavad-Gita, the day that Bhagavad-Gita was spoken by Krishna to Arjuna 5,000 years ago. So it's a very, very long time birthday. And if we were to sum up Bhagavad-Gita in just 3 words, you have any idea how we can do it? How do we sum up Bhagavad-Gita in just 3 words? So those 3 words are there in Bhagavad-Gita itself. It is there in the first instruction that Krishna gives Arjuna, and it is there in the last instruction that Krishna gives Arjuna. So the entire Bhagavad-Gita is sandwiched just between these 2 words that Krishna says, and those 2 words are Ma Shuchaha. That means do not worry, don't worry. So 2nd chapter, Krishna begins to instruct Arjuna, and he tells him that you are lamenting for that which is not worthy of grief. Ashocyan anvashochastvam prajnavadamscha bhashase gatasun agatasumscha nanushocanti panditaha. If you have real knowledge like a pandita, then you will not lament. Nanushocanti, you will not lament. So then Arjuna wants to know, how do I get to that position? Give me that knowledge by which I can become free of anxiety. And then Krishna speaks the entire Bhagavad Gita. And in the end, he says, Sarva dharman parityajya, mam ekam sharanam braja, aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma shuchaha. Don't worry. I will take care of everything. What must you do? You just surrender to me, become my devotee. So how do we become his devotee? We have demonstrations of that in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So Bhagavad Gita is a preliminary book of knowledge that gives us, it's like, let's say, titles, subtitles, and subtitles, and the details can be found in the Bhagavatam. So Bhagavad Gita is a very, very important text, and we have to read it. If we have not read it already, we must read it. And the next thing we do once we read it and we relish the instructions given there by Krishna, then the next thing is to share it. So there are so many books of philosophy, so many, even Bhagavad Gita, there are so many people who have written commentaries. So why is it that we are happy, we are satisfied with the Bhagavad Gita as it is, the commentary given by Prabhupada? Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita teaches us the path of Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga is a very, very simple process from which we get very quick results. In Bhagavad Gita 9th chapter, Krishna says that this Bhakti Yoga is susukham kartum avyayam. It can be very happily performed. Sukham, do it happily. kartum avyayam, and the more you do, the more you want to continue doing it. So Prabhupada says very often that what is Krishna consciousness? Chant, dance, sing, eat prasadam, and be happy. Very simple, right? If you look at 6th chapter of Bhagavad-Gita, Krishna explains the yoga process. So he says, go to the forest, be alone, find a secluded place, find a seat that is not too high or not too low, and concentrate. How do you concentrate? Your eyes should be looking at the tip of your nose, but your concentration should be between the eyebrows. So I tried this several times, and it was a nice experience, but I was not really getting anywhere. It will take you a very, very long time to look at the tip of your nose, but you concentrate here, because usually our concentration goes where our eyes go. So this is very difficult to do, just this first step. And then the system of breathing, pranayama. So we do some pranayama these days when we do yoga for good health. But the actual pranayama will take a long time for us to start doing the proper way as the yoga process actually teaches us. So it's quite a complicated process. And how do we know it is complicated? Arjuna himself says, Krishna, this is too difficult. I'm not doing this. And who is Arjuna? Arjuna is a person of amazing capacity. You will all know that story, that even when he's a small boy, he's able to fix his concentration on the eye of the parrot and then shoot his arrow. So he has such tremendous concentration power, and he also has such skill in archery. So he tells Krishna, I can control the raging wind, but I cannot control my mind. And when Arjuna says, I can control the wind, he means it. He can do it. He can set up a wall of arrows and stop the cyclone coming from the Bay of Bengal. I'm sure he can do it. But he says that I cannot control my mind. So that's how difficult the yoga process is, to control the mind, to concentrate, to bring it to a point of concentration is very difficult. So there are so many such processes, but the easiest process is bhakti yoga, where you surrender to Krishna with devotion, you engage in acts of devotion, and you see how Krishna reciprocates with you. So just like they say, the taste of the pudding is in the eating. So how do you know that Krishna will reciprocate? It's very simple. Chant Hare Krishna, offer flowers and fruits to Krishna, and you will see immediately the happiness that comes up in your heart. So it's a very simple process. And once you start chanting and you read Bhagavad-Gita and you find that it is so nice, it has helped you so much, then the next thing to do is to give it to others. Because anything good that we get, we have the natural habit to share it with others. I visited one friend, this was many years ago. So we were sitting in his house like 7 o'clock in the evening or something. And then he says, have you eaten in Murugan Idli shop? The idlis are so good, it's so soft. And I was thinking, oh, I thought you were going to offer me dinner. You want me to go and eat in Murugan Idli? So there, I was surprised how he wanted to share this, that he had eaten at a place and it was so good and he wanted us to go and eat there. So this is a natural propensity we all have, that when we enjoy something, we want to share it. We want to tell people that, come on, you also do this, you get that happiness. So when we read Bhagavad-Gita, when we get happiness out of Bhagavad-Gita, then we cannot keep it to ourselves. We should not be shy to help other people by giving them this knowledge, because they are going to benefit by it just as you have benefited. So most people may be shy. Oh, what if they don't like it? What if they're not interested in this? And then I go and tell them, read this Bhagavad-Gita, and they just snub me. I'll feel so bad. We may have such feelings. So here we saw in this song how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's gathering his followers and they are going street to street, door to door, and telling people, chant the names of Krishna. Make use of your human body. So this is the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that we should do this. And when we do this, just as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wants, then we get the unlimited mercy of Lord Chaitanya. because we are doing something that he wants us to do. And one thing about Krishna consciousness and distributing Bhagavad Gita, we are like agents, marketing agents. And who is our boss? Our boss is the supremely successful Sri Krishna. There is no failure. Where there is Krishna, there is no failure. What does Sanjaya say in the end of Bhagavad Gita? Yatra Yogeshwaro Krishna, Yatra Partho Dhanurdharaha, Tatra Shrir Vijayo Bhutir Dhruva Nitir Matir Mama. Wherever there is Krishna, wherever there is Arjuna, there is Shri, opulence, Vijaya, victory, Dhruva Nitir, and morality. So then we are working for Krishna, who is always successful. Wherever Krishna is there, there is victory. One name of Krishna itself is Vijaya. So in this way, we are working for someone, we are representing someone who is always successful. So what do we have to fear? So many times salespeople have come to my doorstep and they tell one big story before they actually show their product. Gets really so irritating that can you just come to the point? What is it you have come to sell? So they just cook up so many funny stories, hide their product behind their back, all these gimmicks they are taught in their management lessons, and then finally they come up with their product. So one boy, he was talking so much, saying so many things, he made me buy a set of knives that he had brought with him. Why? And then because he spoke so convincingly, and then he told me, madam, my boss will call you to find out how I performed, how you would rate me as a salesperson. Please, madam, give me a good rating. So in this way, these people, they are struggling to get a good rating, to sell their products, but we have something that is a definite winner. Bhagavad Gita is a definite winner, and our boss is a definite winner. Krishna, who's speaking Bhagavad Gita, who's spoken about in Bhagavad Gita, he is a sure winner. So there's no need for us to be afraid. Shy, we may feel shy. We may assume that the other person is not interested, that the other person may snub us. Okay, let them. So what? So what? You tell someone that, I read this book and I liked it so much. And the friend may say, oh, that one. Oh, how do you like that? So what do we feel when they say that? It doesn't matter, right? Because and you enjoyed it. So if you show the Bhagavad Gita to someone and they say that, oh, you're reading such books, it's okay, let them have their opinion. But why should we miss out on someone who will be happy to have it? When I was new to ISKCON and I was traveling from my home to the temple to do services there, I would go by bus and I would always speak to the person next to me. I would share the Maha Mantra with them and ask them to come to the temple. So when I start the conversation, I may be a little nervous. Sometimes I would make judgments that, oh, doesn't look like she'll be interested. Maybe she'll be angry with me. But then I just start a conversation. Oh, where are you going to get off? What are you doing? Are you working? Are you studying? Just start with small talk and then say, I'm going now to this temple. This temple is so nice. And they teach this mantra, and I give a japa card. And it's so nice when you chant this mantra. It made me very happy. You should try it. So I really tell you, of the many number of people I spoke to, only one person stared at me. Everybody else took it so nicely. So there are people out there who are looking for relief, just like I was looking for relief, just like we know that I am in fear, I am in sorrow, I need help. Many people out there need it, just that they don't know where to go with it. And they also want to put on this facade, show that I'm okay, I'm fine. But inside, everybody is asking questions, everybody is looking for answers. And if you go and give them the Bhagavad Gita, they will be grateful to you. So if you have read the Bhagavad Gita, if you have not read, you must read it. It's the birthday of Bhagavad Gita, good time to start reading. If you have read and you have benefited from it, then don't keep it to yourself. You have to give it to others so that they can also benefit from it. And when you give to others, you also get benefit. So these are very, very special books of Prabhupada. If they don't take the Bhagavad Gita, then we give them the small books also. And in this way, we can help people. And of course, the advantage is that in December, we give a good discount. So it is a natural human frailty that where there's a discount, we like to make use of it and benefit. So I would like to share with you my journey, how I got to reading Prabhupada's books. So I was already in a philosophical mindset where I found philosophy very interesting. It helped me get good sleep. That was my starter. Factually, yes, it may sound very funny, but that's the truth. I was reading novels, fictions, and I found that by reading fiction, I was not getting happier. In fact, I was getting more miserable if the heroine in the book also happened to be in misery. Especially the last fiction I read was Gone with the Wind, real fat book. And the tale there is so pathetic that it took me more than a week to stop feeling bad for the heroine. So then I was thinking that why am I taking on the misery of a non-existing person? At least I feel miserable for the poor people or the people who are suffering without Krishna consciousness. I can do something and help. But here I'm reading a book and feeling sorry for someone who doesn't even exist. So then I thought, this is an utter waste of time. I'm spoiling my mood unnecessarily. So that was the last fiction book I read. At the same time, I got a philosophical book. And when I read that book, I found that I could sleep very peacefully. So then I saw that there is some difference here. There's some difference here, and I started reading more books of philosophy. So the initial books I got were all different kind of books. There's one book was called Tao of Physics. So I could not really understand much of it, but like I told you, I read it because it gave me good sleep. And then I read a book called Zen and the article and the art of motorcycle maintenance. This is the title of the book. And so these were all philosophical books. And then there was Ayn Rand. So many books I had read. But it didn't really answer the questions that were going on in my mind. Because the basic question we all have, like I said in the beginning, is how to overcome fear. And the greatest fear we all have is death. Death is something that really scares us all. So I had this question that how do we become free of the fear of death? So can God help us? Can prayers help us? Or is it impossible? I had these questions and I asked a friend about it. And through my company with that friend, and I went into impersonal philosophy, Mayavada. And from Mayavada, I went into a little bit of atheism. So my logic was that this world is too wonderful to have been created by one person. So in this logic, I was almost like an atheist, but still I knew in my heart that of course Krishna is there, because from my childhood, I've been a devotee of Krishna. So then I was telling myself that I want to know Krishna scientifically, not just based on my experiences, my understanding, my faith and belief, but I want to know him logically and scientifically. So at this time, I used to go very often to the libraries, USIS, British Council Library, and I came across one very interesting book. It was called Parapsychology. This book was by what's his name? Creator of Sherlock Holmes, Arthur Conan Doyle. So he had written this book, and this book was based on a lot of experiments he had conducted with reputed people of his times. And what were their experiments? These experiments were to prove that ghosts exist. So don't get scared. So this book, it's called Parapsychology, and they conducted many experiments. So when I read this book, I was thinking, so there is something more than what Darwin said, because one thing we can say that I can say that God does not exist. But how can I say that I don't exist, right? So if I exist, then what is the source of my existence? Where did I come from? So then you say you came from your parents, or you say you came from your monkey, from the monkey, whatever. But then when I tell you, based on this book of parapsychology, that there is a different realm, there is a realm, subtle realm of ghosts, then what is the answer? Darwin never spoke about it. So his theory is incomplete. At the same time, I read another book called The Airmen Who Would Not Die. So this book was based at that time when the airplane had just been founded. The aeroplane was invented, and people were dying very often because the planes were not working so well in the beginning. It took a lot of experiments, trials, errors, rectifications to finally give us a plane that crashes very rarely. So we are still not at that stage where the planes never crash. We are all just now offered our honors to General Rawat. So we have not reached the level that we have invented a plane that will never crash. But at that time, when planes were just invented, so many were crashing, so many were dying. So this book was telling the life of many of these pilots. So many of them, it is the Victorian time in England. It is not the time when women are going to work and they have social security. So these men would come back and tell their wives where they had kept money or how they could manage, giving them some support, some kind of a moral support. So this is one book I read. And this is not a fiction book. This was really recounting histories and how it happened. Maybe it is still available. It is called The Airmen Who Would Not Die. So after reading these two books, then this whole realm, this whole level of the subtle came before my eyes. So then I put this question that I know I exist. And the only theory I have heard so far in school and colleges is the theory of Darwin, that I come from the monkeys. But then what does Darwin have to say about the mind? What does he have to say about the ghost? What does he have to say about miracles that happen? Because my friend had a book of miracles, which she shared with me. And that is also very true. We cannot totally deny miracles. Miracles happen also. So then how do you explain this? So then I thought, okay, I need to find knowledge in a higher source. Darwin cannot give complete knowledge. So then what gives highest knowledge? Of course, it is the Vedas. Vedas are the source of highest knowledge. So then I thought, I want to get knowledge from the Vedas. And it is at that point that for my journalism assignment, I had to go out, interview people, make an article. So then my friend brought me to ISKCON, because she knew that I was putting on this facade, this show of being an atheist. So she said, you please come and ask questions. So I went to ISKCON, we interviewed the devotees. And I was not an atheist for very long because all the answers I got were so convincing. Especially the first analogy I heard was how we are like the fish out of water. So you take the fish out of water, you give it all the comforts possible, give it pizza, give it all the drinks, give it a palace, give it, BMW, Miss India by its side, doesn't care for anything. All at once is to go back to the water. So like that, we are here in this world and we are finding different ways of trying to be happy, but nothing works. Always at the back of our mind, there is anxiety, there is misery. Misery keeps happening. And then I realized what I want is uninterrupted happiness. We are happy, but then there is an interruption, something happens. And then we have to cry. Like they say, laugh on Friday, cry on Saturday. So that is all the time we have to be happy. Laugh on Friday, cry on Saturday. So then I thought that I want to find uninterrupted happiness. And so that is when, by the grace of the Lord who is in our heart, he is watching us, he's guiding us. And by his grace, I came to the ISKCON temple. I was associating with the devotees, asking so many questions. I was already famous in college for asking questions. So even when I came here, I was just asking questions all the time, questions. And what I would do was, I come to the temple only on Sunday. So it is not like these days that as soon as I get a question, I just WhatsApp it, I make a call and I get my answer. So I go to the temple only once a week. So then through the week, whatever questions come up in my mind, whatever questions come up in my reading, I would write them all in a diary. And then when I go to the temple, then I would sit with my guiding Mataji, Leela Padma Mataji, and I would ask her all these questions. So in this way, I was finding answers to all the questions I had. And then I was reading Prabhupada's books. And when I read Prabhupada's books, I used to be very excited because I felt that at every page of Prabhupada's book, there is something new. There's something I didn't know before. This is information. Wow, this is information. I was getting so much new information. I was finding it very exciting to read Prabhupada's books. And especially Bhagavad-Gita. Before coming to Prabhupada's Bhagavad-Gita, I had read Bhagavad-Gita by Chidbhavananda. I had read that 2 times. First time when I was 15 years old, and then later one more time. And then I had read Chinmayananda's Bhagavad-Gita. And when I came to Prabhupada's Bhagavad-Gita, what I liked most was how he was quoting from different shlokas of Bhagavad-Gita. Now, when you're reading something big like Bhagavad-Gita, 18 chapters, 700 verses, and it is not really that there is an order. So how do you find a central theme in the book? Now, when you're reading a very big book, there needs to be a central theme to connect all the chapters, all the shlokas. So I found that only in Prabhupada's book. So you will see that in 2nd chapter, he's quoting from 10th chapter, and then 3rd chapter, he's quoting from 7th chapter, and then you are on 7th chapter, he quotes from here. And not only from within Bhagavad Gita, he's quoting from the Upanishads, he's quoting from the Vedas, and everything is so authentic. It's all from the Shastras, and it is so obvious. The meaning there is so obvious. So in this way, I really enjoyed reading Prabhupada's books. So the natural outcome next is to distribute books. So that is why I was very keen to distribute. And out of my various experiences in distributing Bhagavad Gita, the one I like to share most is the importance of taking pledges. So I used to have this kind of Radha, I can say, that I would distribute Prabhupada's books for 1 hour every day. So I had a little bag and I would carry small books. And if I found the people interested in the small books, then I would go back to them with Bhagavad Gita, so that I don't have to carry so many copies of Bhagavad Gita. Even later, after I was in ISKCON, what I would do is I would go to government offices with only 2 copies, one English, one Tamil of Bhagavad Gita. I would go table to table showing the books, take an order, and then one day go and distribute to all of them. So this way I didn't have to carry a lot of heavy books. So I was doing this 1 hour a day of book distribution. And during this time, so the challenge is that either I distribute for 1 hour, I'm out there 1 hour going door to door, or if the books are sold out, I come back home. So this is what I was doing. And especially on Sundays, it was very nice to distribute books, because usually the women, they don't come up with the money to buy. So on Sundays, the men are at home and they are more likely to give money and get the book. So I try my best never to miss Sundays. So one particular Sunday, what happened was it was I missed my usual time. It was getting hot and I had a headache. So I was thinking, should I go or not? So I was in a big dilemma. So should I take rest, take care of my headache, or should I go out in this Chennai hot sun? We all know. Should I do it or not? So then finally I decided that I should not miss a Sunday. I must go. So I went down a lane. No one took any book. Maybe 10 minutes would have passed. And then I came the other side and one young man stopped me. And then he asked to see all the books I had, and he took all the books. So in just 15 minutes, I was back home. So in this way, I realized, and in another incident, what happened was I went to see my aunt in the LIC office. And as I was going up, I was praying to the Lord that in this building, in this office, I want to distribute at least 25 copies of Bhagavad Gita. And when I was going up the steps, one man came and told me, "Oh, you brought Bhagavad Gita, go and meet Mr. Rajesh in this place." I said, "Okay." So first I went to meet my aunt, then she would introduce me to her colleagues in the office. I show them the Bhagavad Gita, I take the orders. And then I went to the next floor looking for Mr. Rajesh, but he was not in his seat. So then I just went around asking other people in the office, and then I came back down. By then I had distributed 11 copies. So as I was coming down, I was just praying again to the Lord that I asked for 25, but I got only 11. And just then this man comes up here in the steps and he says, "Did you meet Mr. Rajesh? Did you show him the Bhagavad Gita?" I said, "I went to his place, but he was not there." And then he said, "Oh, it's lunchtime." So just then he said, "Oh, there he is." And that Rajesh, he was coming up the steps also. And right there in the steps itself, this Rajesh, he looked at the Bhagavad Gita. Someone had passed away in his family, so he wanted to give out Bhagavad Gita. So right there, he ordered 14 copies, like 10 English, 2 Tamil, 2 Hindi, like that. So I got my total count of 25. So in this way, you see that when you take a pledge that I want to do this many books, then one thing is you have a target and you work for it. You don't just let days slip by without knowing what happened. Just like in this song, with every rising and setting of the sun, a day passes and is lost. Then why do you remain idle and not serve the Lord of the heart? So we should not let the day pass by. We should not be idle. We have to do our service for the Lord. So when you set up a target, you'll be careful that you don't miss out on the days, because this Gita marathon that we do is only for two months or so. So setting a target keeps you focused on what you have to do. And secondly, the Lord knows what blessing to give you, how to reward you for the service you are doing for him. How does he reward you? First of all, he makes it easy for you to achieve your target. And of course, he's so pleased. He says in Bhagavad Gita that one who gives this Bhagavad Gita to others, to the innocent people, is very dear to me. So this is a very easy way of becoming dear to Krishna, getting closer to Krishna. So I wish all of you a very happy Gita month. Read Gita, give Gita, and be blessed. Hare Krishna. If you have any questions, comments, corrections.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mother. It's a very, very enlightening and inspiring class for us, because we, like a few of us, especially myself, have experience with book distribution also. But as you said earlier, it was really a challenge. But listening to all of your experiences, it actually motivates and inspires us to keep moving on with, just going on with book distribution. Very, very amazing class. Thank you so much, Madhi. So anybody has any doubts, you can just raise your hands, or you can type your question in the chat box. Before that, Madhi, I have a question. Sometimes we go for book distribution, as you said, as a neophyte devotee. Sometimes people don't even recognize us. I mean, see our face, and then they just humiliate us. I mean, if you're about to explain the glories of it, they just don't. I mean, look at us and listen to us. So, like, how do we? And sometimes we feel so bad, and it actually demotivates us on the first place. How do we just deal as a startup when we're doing book distribution for the first time? How to deal with this, Matji? Hare Krishna.
That's why they say book distribution is the best way to become humble. It makes you humble. Otherwise, we think, we are the boss, that everything happens the way I want. I'm the center, or we are just generally afraid to go out. But when you start distributing books, I also used to be very afraid, and I was going alone. At the time that I was going for book distribution, I guess I was the only female, and I was going door to door in my street. I really didn't have so much of a company. My motivation was Prabhupada's books and the lectures I heard. So I used to feel that the Gurukul system, as Prabhupada explains, the student, he goes begging door to door, and he comes back and gives to the Guru, and then the Guru gives him knowledge. This is the service he does for the Guru, and the Guru gives him knowledge. So this is what we read in Prabhupada's book. So I was thinking that I'm getting this knowledge from Prabhupada, and I love this knowledge. I feel so happy to get this knowledge. What am I doing for Prabhupada in return? I'm sitting comfortably at home and reading. I'm not in the Gurukul serving Prabhupada, going begging for him. I'm just sitting so comfortably at home and reading, but I should do something for Prabhupada. I had this very strong urge that I must return Prabhupada for the knowledge he has given me. So then I thought I must go on book distribution. And then I would hear the lectures. And these words that I heard in one lecture is that when you are going out on book distribution, Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, and Prabhupada, they're with you. They're right there with you. So then you just have that confidence that I'm not alone. They are with me. So every day before going on book distribution, I would remind myself of these words, and then I would go out. And once I'm out in the street, then there is no fear. No fear whatsoever. It's like, someone who is singing or talking, giving a class or speech or whatever. You may be very scared, very nervous. Oh, how am I going to perform? Will I do it properly? You may have all kinds of anxieties. But once you're there and you start, the flow just comes. Right? If you have some basic points, then you can see that you can do it comfortably. So like that, once you start doing it, it becomes very comfortable, because majority of the people are nice. It's very rarely that you come across people who insult you. I think that's very rare. Most of the people out there are just waiting for someone to come and give them the book. They're just waiting for it. So another thing Prabhupada says is that you go to the innocent. He says, now when there is a war, and the Blue Cross people, Red Cross, is it? Red Cross people are there to take care of the wounded people. So they will go to those people who can be saved, who still have the chance to survive. So like that, when we go out preaching, we go to those people who are innocent, who will take it. We don't have to go looking for challenges. Just go to people who are innocent, who are known to you, who are basically friendly people. And you don't have to go on and on. If you're the shy type, you don't have to go on and on. You just show them, are you interested? And if they say no, you don't have to keep pushing. It's when you keep pushing that it can become uncomfortable, and you may get more and more wounded. So you show it to someone. If they are interested, you tell more about it. If they are totally uninterested and they are speaking bad words, just move on. Don't stand there. You're not obliged to hear what they have to say. So just move on. And you will find that most of them are interested. And not all of them are going to be outright nasty, that, what are you doing this? Why are you doing this? And just grabbing the book, throwing it. It doesn't happen so often. At least in India, we are so fortunate. We are in India, and that too in South India, which is such a pious place. So it is quite easy, actually. We are in a very advantageous position, and we must make use of it.
Yes, that really helps. And one more follow-up question. Actually, this question was asked from one of our Bhakti-Vriksha, devotees who wanted to ask this question. So this is like, Maji, when we go for book distribution, sometimes we know that we are not doing it, but sometimes when we sell books like 50 books, 40 books, we get that kind of okay, I did it today. So that automatically pops up, and and then how to crush that thing. So what we have to do, how can we meditate that it is not me? But sometimes that ego comes, I did it.
The moment you thought I did it, the crush already came on you. The moment the I comes in, you immediately feel so weak, tired, exhausted, negative. Everything immediately comes upon you. So you're at that point itself crushed. So it doesn't take very long. So then you realize that why am I feeling so negative? Why am I feeling like this? Because I thought I did it. So then immediately change, change it to. That is why we have this very lovely phrase, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Whatever I have done, it's not me, it's your glory. You went and you distributed Bhagavad-Gita. Who gave you that Bhagavad-Gita to distribute? Yeah. Did you sit and write it? Did you publish it? All you did was go and give it to someone. And what is your glory in that? You took that effort, that's all. But if that book were not there, what would you be selling? No, like that man I told you, selling knives and encyclopedia. What would we be selling? So just remember this, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. So this is very important, that as soon as you hear a glory of yourself, you have to immediately pass it on. If you don't pass it on and you keep it to yourself, then your mind will start working on it. That is the nature of the mind. Whatever it hears, it goes on repeating. It keeps echoing. So the moment someone says that, oh, you did such a wonderful thing, immediately pass it on. I could do it. See, it is not that we have to completely delete ourselves from memory, from the file. It's not that we are completely deleted. We exist. We exist as servants of the Lord. But what I did it, but why could I do it? Because of the energy you gave me, because of the empowerment that you gave me. So that acknowledgement has to be there. So any praise, whatever, immediately pass it on verbally. Don't think in your mind. Because the mind, it has heard something from outside, and to remove that, it has to hear another thing. So until you speak out something, the mind will continue to echo your own praise. And that is where you start falling. Your consciousness starts going down. So the moment you are praised, immediately pass it on to someone verbally. Okay, thank you so much for appreciating this. But this is because of Prabhupada. This is because of my spiritual masters. It's because of all those people who are guiding me, inspiring me to do this. Verbally speak it out. That way your mind will be under control.
Sure, Mataji, that really helps. Actually, we have one question from Anutama Chitra Mataji. So how do you approach people and what do you say to them to get them to buy it? So like the first few words, do you start off with to build the rapport? How do you actually approach them?
I just directly approach them that as I'm coming from ISKCON, and this month is the day Bhagavad-Gita was spoken. And in Tamil Nadu, we have this advantage. We can say it is Margari. Everybody knows Margari month means it's for Perumal. It's for Krishna. Everyone knows. So I use the word Margari. So I said this month of Margari, we are distributing Bhagavad-Gita at a discount. So just like in the Western countries, they say Christmas. Here we have the advantage of saying Margari, and the moment, and it's really so nice because Margari month, everything is so pious in Tamil Nadu. Everyone is in such a devotional mood with, Andal Tirupavai, everything happening, so many events happening in the temple. So we have an advantage there. Yeah. So I usually start with this, that I'm coming from ISKCON, and this Margari month, we are giving these books at a discount. So why don't you look at it? So then usually what they will say is, I already have the book. And then the next thing is, I don't have time to read it. So if they say they already have the book, then we try to say that this is from the point of view of Bhakti Yoga. So then you show some verses, you show the pictures, that how Bhakti Yoga is very easy and simple, and this will really help. And then if they say they have no time, we tell them just read one shloka a day and see this is something. And another thing we can say is, like, every Christian, they read the Bible every Sunday. Every Mohammedan, they go and read the Quran. As Hindus, what are we doing? Are we reading only the Sun News? No, we should be reading Bhagavad Gita also. If we don't read, then how will the children learn anything about our philosophy? If the children ask a question, how will you answer them? Then they will become faithless. So these are some ways I tell them. And of course, the other thing is how it is distributed all over the world. It's a bestseller in New York. It's distributed all over the world. So why not here? Why don't you read it? These are some taglines.
Yes, Mache, but just a follow-up question to this question. Sound like, how do we approach like a Christian? Because sometimes even I have a circle of Christian friends. Sometimes I feel, how do I start up, to just help them with this book, just to make them read it?
You just ask them, have you ever had the curiosity to know what is in the Bhagavad Gita? Because I'm connected with ISKCON and they are giving it at a discount. So if you're interested, I thought I could just ask you. You can ask them, have you ever been curious to know what is in the Bhagavad Gita? Like, I think many of us would have read the Bible, no? I have definitely read. So we have this curiosity to know what is there. I'll tell you, actually, during my book distribution, I was going to door. And I knocked at one door, and a very angry man, he opened the door. I mean, when he saw me, he was speaking very harshly. And I was wondering why he's speaking harshly. And then when I saw his mother behind, she was sitting in a chair, I could make out she was wearing the typical Christian dress that people wear in Kerala. So I understood, okay. So, and they were speaking in Malayalam. I know the language. So this mother was telling, hey, why are you looking at this book? Ask her to go. Shut the door. Why are you talking? And then this man, he was staring at me, with so much anger and contempt. And he said, let me just see what is in that book. And I was thinking, yes, please see what is in the book. So he got 2-3 books from me. So they have this curiosity to know what is there in it. So don't tell anything more than that. So if you have a curiosity, if you've ever wanted to know what is in the Bhagavad Gita, I have this copy available at a discount, and I wanted to check out if you would be interested. So don't preach at all. Like Prabhupada says, what is the use of your 2-minute preaching? Just give him my book and he will be benefited. So because Prabhupada says that even if they touch the Bhagavad Gita, they are benefited. So when I was traveling in the bus, like I told you, I would carry a Bhagavad Gita, and sometimes you don't have a place to sit, so people are very kind, they take your bags. So that time I would give the Bhagavad Gita to someone. So let them hold the Bhagavad Gita and get benefited. So I used to think of all these little ways to pass on the benefit to others. So that way, if they're just holding the Bhagavad Gita in their hand for a few seconds and looking at it, they are getting benefited. So why do you worry that they didn't buy it? So this time they have seen a devotee, they have seen the book, they have touched the book, they have held the book. Then the next step will follow very soon. If not from you, from someone else, they will buy the Bhagavad Gita. So, there is no loss in any act of devotion that we do. So whatever we do, some benefit is there for us and for the others. So as far as possible, don't go out too much to other people of other religion. There are enough among the Hindus who have not read Bhagavad Gita.
Thank you very much. I think questions, nobody has raised their hands so far. So I think questions are not there.
So how many among the participants here have read Bhagavad Gita fully once? Or should I ask who has not read?
You can raise your hands if you have read. Vaishnavi has read once. I can see only one hand in the chat, which is Vaishnavi. Or is it Vaishnavi? Okay, yeah. Sarveshwari has read. 2 participants.
Okay.
Oh no, we have a lot. Arjuna Mataji. Okay.
Yeah, because the first thing is to read. First thing is to read, and then once you know what is there in it, then the confidence naturally comes to give it to others. Okay. Yeah. So first you read, Very important to make it put it in your daily schedule to read every day. And of course, side by side, you can do it. It's not that you have to wait to complete your reading before you pass on the information. So if you have the confidence that, yes, I can talk about this to someone, I can share this with someone, all you have to say is, I'm reading this and I like it so much. Why don't you also get a copy? So keep it very brief. You don't have to go into the details. Oh, karma yoga, jnana yoga, bhakti yoga, this, that. Let him read it slowly. Why stuff everything in the first meeting that you have with somebody? So just tell them, I'm reading this and it's so nice. Why don't you also read this, right? So try to ask your friends, ask your family members. Okay.
So we have a lot of comments coming up. So
Yeah.
Sindhu has said she's reading one shloka per day. And Kirtana, she is, completed. She just read once. So she has read it from last Gita Jayanti, and she has completed reading
Only
it
the
once.
verse.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
So catch up on your reading. Spend at least half an hour catching up on your reading. Read a Bhagavad-Gita and side by side give it to other people. Take a pledge that this year I'm going to distribute 5 copies, 10 copies, whatever you think you can. And you will be able to do it by Krishna's grace. Even recently, when I'm not going out so much these days for book distribution, I think 2 or 3 years ago, I took a pledge to distribute 108 Bhagavad Gita. And I was wondering, how am I going to do it? I'm not even stepping out of the house. How am I going to do this? And then I just get a call. One lady speaks and she says, my father-in-law passed away and what can I do? I said, distribute Bhagavad Gita. And in just one phone call, I was able to do that 108. So that pledge is so important. When you take that pledge and you really think about it and you really want to achieve it, then Krishna helps in some way. So take a pledge, even if it is just 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. Take a pledge, find a way to do it. How am I going to do it? Make a plan. It's not that you make the pledge and you just sit back. You put an effort. And that effort will be rewarded by the Lord.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Madhya. And thank you everyone for joining for today's Saturday session, taking your time out. And thank you so much, Madhya, for this wonderful, inspiring session. I think this year so every year we have planned of book distributing books. This time we have had this practical experience of you guiding us how to do it and why to do it. So it's very nice that we have attended this session. And yes, I think based on your motivation, I think any of us will take a pledge and start this book distribution. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Pancha kalpatirubhashya kripa sindhubhya etc. Patitana pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai.
Thank you very
Hare
much
Krishna.
for giving me this opportunity to talk about Prabhupada and Bhagavad Gita. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.